Today we're honored to welcome Rusty Roberts to the show today. I'm very excited to have him on today. We're going to talk about some very interesting topics that are very valuable for people. Like we're dealing with a disease called cancer, right? Now, if you don't have this, there's a good chance that there's someone that you know who will or have, right? It's unfortunately very common, right? But we're only left with a few options for the most part, or so we think, right? But the reality is there's so much opportunity on the table just to become more aware of these things and how we can integrate these things in our reality so we can actually uncover our fear, right? Because a lot of times we tend to fear we don't understand. And we start to integrate these things, we can have a lot more options and actual results in our life. So very happy to have him on and share his story with us. So how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you having me on. I want to let your visitors know that, hey, it takes a lot of work to put these things together. And it's really nice if we just give you a 5-star review to say thank you, because it is a lot of work to put these shows together. So thank you. And I encourage all your listeners, go give you a 5-star review.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I'm very curious to hear your story and how you got into this field and cancer and basically how you kind of learned the process as well and how you're kind of helping people within that process.
It's a fascinating story, and the best part about it, there's a lesson that can resonate and help others. So it's not just a wonderful, miraculous survivor story, but there's also lessons that carry over that can help people whether they have cancer or know somebody who has cancer. And I want to let your visitors know that I have a special gift for you guys today. If you're fighting cancer, know somebody who has cancer, and you've always wondered, what can I do integratively? What can I do naturally? Well, I have a actual 7-week integrative patient care plan that walks through every treatment, the dosage, durations, what it was paired with and sequenced with for a 7-week plan of care, along with the walkthrough. So this would be the reasoning that the medical team had to give each one of the therapies. So I have that as a free gift for all of your viewers, your listeners here at the end of the show. I'll share that with them, and they'll know how to get in touch with me to get that gift.
Wow, man, I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. Knowledge is truly power, and it just zooms us through a process, and that's what I'm here to do. So you'd asked me about my mom's story, and that is how it started. I had no idea this world existed until my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This story may resonate a lot with your listeners. She was misdiagnosed for about a year, and during that period of time, her lymphoma is getting more and more and more advanced. By the time they found it, they diagnosed her as stage 4, 12 weeks to live if she doesn't do aggressive chemotherapy. So they didn't give her a lot of options. This is the option. So she, within 7 days, she was connected to her first 2-liter bag of Rituxan. They did not do a chemosensitivity test. Everybody, I suggest you get one. So she has a reaction to this the very first time she's connected. And her head is blistered, her mouth and her throat are blistered, and about half her hair falls out. About another 6-7 days later, they connect her to another 2-liter bag of Rituxan, which is the right chemo for her type of cancer. It was exactly the right therapy. But this time it stops her heart, right in the fusion chair. They resuscitate her, flush her out, and say there is no options for her. And they send her home to pass away. The next 2 weeks, she rapidly declined, Anthony. I mean, I watched her. She was a vibrant 58-year-old woman. And in 2 weeks, she looks over 90. She's laying in bed, wasting away, and she smells like death. She's not dead, but she literally smells like death. My dad would refuse to give up. He's desperate. And he finds an integrative clinic that gives him hope. He loads her frail body into the car, drives her there. 14 days later, Anthony, 14 days later, she walks out of that clinic, gets a PET scan, no cancer in her. They couldn't find any. Her oncologist is so shocked, he says, if I hadn't seen your medical records, I would have just simply said you were misdiagnosed. But he had seen all of her medical records. So he said, this is a miracle. Her doctor that helped her, he had never seen anything like it either. He also took credit for it, of course, and I couldn't find anyone who could explain how this happened. And I'm a man who believes in miracles, but how do we help someone unless they're going to have a miracle worker to be able to perform that healing on them? How do we help a lot of other people unless there's a scientific reason for that? Makes sense? I finally found a doctor, an integrative doctor, incredible. He says, Rusty, I've seen that before. I know how your mom lived, and I'm all ears. I have got to know this. He said, yes, it was a miracle. She threaded the needle at basically 100 yards, but here's how it was done. The blisters on her head, mouth, and throat. This is a condition, very rare, doesn't happen often, but it's an allergic reaction that sends our immune system into absolute berserk mode. All right, this thing is just hacking and whacking everything, and her 22 tumors in her upper abdomen are eviscerated in days, and that's what we believe was making the smell of death come out of her. Her cancer is annihilating so fast, it's overloading her ability to shed these toxins, and it's aging her, it's killing her. So she gets down to the clinic. They didn't have to kill the cancer. Instead, they had to stop the runaway immune response before it started killing her organs, because organ damage can routinely happen with a bolus drug reaction like this. So they stopped the immune response, detoxify her, flush her out, and over 14 days, it was like nothing ever happened. She went on to live another 12 years. Absolutely stunning. So what is the lesson? The lesson is your body's ability to kill cancer supersedes anything we can put in it, right? It is absolutely incredible. Now, bolus drug reaction is not something that's safe or something that we should actually look to do, but there are ways to replicate this safely, and it is an option that's clearly there for people who may not have had been given any options, even in late stage 4. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Wow, man. Thank you for sharing that. It's an incredible story. Like, there's a lot there, right? It's like we tend to get in this field from our own story or someone that we love, right? And it seems to be the case here. And definitely miracles can take place, as you mentioned, man. It's like we just got to be open to that possibility in a sense.
Absolutely. Miracles still do happen, and I love them both when they can't be explained, but when they can be explained and replicated safely, oh, what a blessing to all of us. So that doctor has opened up a conversation with me about the basics of 3 pathways that are integrative, alternative, that are there for people when we match their cancer type. So I've been asked, and by the way, I've shared her story just countless times, and it gets me every time. It really does. It's such an incredible tool to open up people's imagination and hope. And Anthony, without hope, there's no reason to do anything. So one of the big things I want to give people today is hope. There is options. And so I love to talk about these 3 pathways that people can choose once we know the type of cancer that they have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. Let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. First thing we're going to need to know is, are they dealing with a solid cancer or a blood cancer? Pretty simple. Right? The most common solid cancers that we're dealing with today: breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer. Right? So these are all forms of solid cancer. Make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. All right. So let's say we have a scenario here of a person with breast cancer. There's probably plenty of people that are listening that can resonate with this. They've been given their basic conventional options, surgery maybe, mastectomy maybe, chemo to make sure that everything is cleaned out. But it doesn't work for everybody, and they may be still progressing. what is it that an integrative doctor, should they have a consultation with one and sit down with one, what are they likely to hear? And here it is. The integrative option that works, that integrative oncologist would share is a cornerstone, or should I say a pillar. A pillar of that therapy program would be insulin propitiation therapy. It's called IPT for short. It is a low-dose chemo strategy. So when they say the long word out, they will say IPT LDC, insulin propitiation therapy, low-dose chemo. This is a very specialized chemo strategy that usually can work even though a full-dose chemo strategy did not work. And here's why. The doctor will give the patient an infusion of insulin in a timely manner before the therapies, all in one setting. That is to lower the blood sugar level that is available for the cancer to feed on. The cancer then lowers its defenses. That tumor will lower its natural defenses, which repels chemo, to go out and scavenge trace amounts of sugar in the blood. And at the right moment, the doctor will infuse a sugar-based, glucose-based, low-dose chemo infusion into their bloodstream. Now, the reason for this is cancer has a tendency to really gobble it up, more so than the healthy cells. So it's not that the healthy cells aren't affected at all, but they're really largely unaffected. Wow. This is a holistic way to use chemotherapy in a way that our conventional doctors do not use. How does that sound?
Yeah, incredible, man. Because we got to have more options, like and how you get results, like you're mentioning here.
Absolutely. It's an incredible a pathway. Now, that's not the only therapy. It's just the center, it's a foundation of that. An integrative doctor will then also use synergistic natural therapies, predominantly IVs, but also some specialized equipment. And your listeners, when they're out searching for natural therapies, they find high-dose vitamin C, which is a staple at most integrative oncology centers. And the reason for that is, one, in high doses, you can't do this, Anthony. You can't get a dose orally at this level. You have to use it in IVs. The body will simply downregulate the vitamin C as they go from 2,000 to 10,000 to 20,000, 50,000 milligrams. The body is going to hit what's called a diarrhea threshold. It's not pleasant. In the body, you can feel it in your stomach. I would say it gets bubbly. When you experience it, you don't forget it. You know what that feels like, and I've always described it as like a bubbly type feeling in your stomach, in your abdomen area. And then, of course, here comes the diarrhea. The body will not let you keep absorbing copious amounts of vitamin C orally. So it has to be done intravenously. And when they do that, these therapies, if the person's sensitivity to vitamin C passes, they'll be looking at 50,000, 75,000, maybe over 100,000 milligrams in one setting. It's not done the same day as a chemo, as they get a chemo infusion. It's designed to work around it. And the reason is vitamin C will successfully, at these levels of dosages, will actually fight cancer as well. But it also affects enhances the effects of chemotherapy and radiation, and it protects healthy cells. It's a wonderful synergistic therapy. And in the plan of care that I'll share with people later, you'll see how they stack these different therapies in sequencing to enhance the overall program. Does it make sense?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It does.
So that is integrative oncology, and it works great for solid tumors. All right, blood cancers, not so much. It just doesn't work. It's not a therapy that really any integrative oncologist would recommend for leukemia, lymphomas, or myelomas. All right. So what do we do in that instance? Right. This is where any integrative oncologist is most likely going to tell you, I'm sorry, full dose chemo. That has historically, statistically, is the best path. But it doesn't end there because not everybody just thrives through chemotherapy, right? I mean, we hear all sorts of nightmare stories, and I feel for every one of them. So, what an integrative doctor would do is while the patient is on full dose chemo, they'll also use all the synergistic therapies to enhance and protect the patient's cells, enhance the effectiveness of that chemo. It's documented. This stuff's all over the internet, but we're not free to share that. That's what podcasting is so great for. That these therapies like vitamin C, curcumin, turmeric, mistletoe, oxygen, all of these wonderful therapies, even heat, can enhance these effects, protect these healthy cells, and help a person thrive through their full dose chemo. And that's really one of the things that I wish my mom had known during that period of time. But unfortunately, she didn't know, and she stumbled her way in, and praise God, she did survive and had a great story to share. But that's what those two pathways are what an integrative oncologist would recommend. One for solid tumors and then one for blood cancers. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. It's great to know about these things so we can actually have more awareness, right? Because we kind of mentioned before, like a lot of times when we have this, we're just like kind of almost like immersed in fear, right? And when you're coming from that place, it's very difficult to do anything. It's really difficult to see beyond that, right? What we're doing here is empowerment and seeing, hey, there's actually more possibilities. And I believe it starts in the mind as well. We actually have to be open to these things too.
Amen. Absolutely. There's a third path that works
Yeah.
on both, right? It works actually for blood cancers and solid tumors. And it's tied into what my mom did. It's immunotherapy. See, my mom accidentally discovered in her own way one of the most powerful ways to treat cancer. And for her, remember, her cancer was a blood cancer, lymphoma, and it eviscerated it. She had all tumors in her lymph nodes. I mean, she had golf ball sized tumors. I mean, it just it annihilated them in such short order. Now, that was done completely unsafely by accident, but it shows us what the power of immunotherapy can do. So when we discuss immunotherapy, Anthony, there's two basic ways that a person can choose. One can be done immunotherapy drugs that are done offered through our oncologists. So they're pharmaceutical drugs that basically take the brakes off of our immune system. And that's pretty much what happened with my mom. Took the brakes off and it triggered it to just go to war. But what happens in the negative side of that is, well, first, when it does work, it works extremely well. But it can cause organ damage. And in those cases that it causes organ damage, the person still has cancer, and now they have organ damage to deal with. So when it comes to quality of life, that may not be the first choice of type of immunotherapy that they want to do. But it can be done through their oncologist. So, and that's using pharmaceuticals to take the brakes off of their immune system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Now the other type. This is the safer type, all right? This is where they extract blood from the person, and they are specifically looking for what's called a dendritic cell. Those are your teacher cells that will teach your immune system what to do. So they will enhance and cultivate those dendritic cells to fight your specific type of cancer, whether it's a solid tumor or a blood cancer. And then they reinsert that back into the body. This is a much, much safer way because you're not taking the brakes off the immune system. You're teaching the immune system. Now, it's not likely to give you the rapid, miraculous, a really short 14-day experience my mom had, but it's done in a much, much, much safer way, and it can be replicated. It's been done for decades. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like a lot of these things they're integrative, right? You can kind of do a lot of synergistic therapies, right? You're not just doing one thing. We actually kind of working on the body systems in order to be healthy, right? So we can actually boost your immune system. You actually boost these things to actually give the body what it needs. I like to say, like, we're designed for wellness. Oftentimes, we just have to get out of the way and give the body what it needs, in a sense.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what this type of immunotherapy does. It's such a wonderful therapy, and it will work on, it's not guaranteed to work. Let's just put it that way. These are not guaranteed. There is no guarantee, all right? But there are success. There is plenty of success to give people hope when they may not have gotten it from their oncologist. So, these therapies can work right into late stage 4. So let's talk real quick, if I may, about the qualifications, the specific physical qualifications a person would need if they're going to choose that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. First, they're going to need to be able to be somewhat independent. If they're bedridden, that's a different type of strategy, right? It lowers our options because most of these integrative cancer clinics are outpatient therapy. So they're predominantly looking, if you want a lot of options, they're going to be looking for outpatient. And what that means is the person's able to physically walk or move around on their own. They're not bedridden. They are eating and able, their bowels are still moving. They don't have bowel obstructions, so their restroom usage is still predominantly normal, and they have a good appetite. They're feeding themselves, showering themselves, taking care of themselves every day. They're able to travel because these are clinics that are in specific locations, some in the U.S. and in Mexico, and they have to be able to go to them. They're not likely to be down the street for most people. Make sense?
Yeah.
Those are the things that people need to keep in mind. So take advantage of the window that you have, which is because it doesn't stay that way. As if the cancer progresses, the health that we have today may not be there weeks or months down the road. And I've unfortunately I've witnessed this a number of times, and it's rooted in our basic human psychology to underestimate what's happening, and that is it's a big mistake. Take advantage of the health that you have, and do your research, find the path. And I have conversations with people all the time, and I welcome them to speak with me one-on-one to help them think through this process, to think through this situation, because they're very high stakes situations, and match up with their type of cancer with a therapy that's most likely going to be a really good fit for them. Have a conversation with a high value doctor that's fantastic at doing that, has a great success rate, and then if they decide to do that, go for it with everything you got. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop until you have that title and you're clear. That's a path that has been a winning formula. Make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, immune system is so key for everything, right? It's like it's really kind of like the system that is responsible for healing and being able to kind of find out all these things, right? So being able to bolster these things, as you mentioned, very important.
Absolutely. People, when we haven't been involved in or seen or ever experienced anything that steals our vitality, steals our very life and our well-being, we have a tendency to underestimate and expect that tomorrow is going to be like today. But when it's gone, and it may take, I hope it never happens to any of your followers, any of your listeners, but if it does, it gradually happens. But when that moment happens where it's now gone, that my ability to do a certain thing is now gone, it's extremely difficult to get it back. And some people do, and then some people do not. So I caution your listeners. This is it's not to be scary at all. No, it's just to be aware, and that you don't let this steal your vitality and your abilities, because it can be difficult to get back. And then the options start to shrink, and we want our options to be abundant, and we want it to be easier to achieve success. So knowledge is power. Find your path. Connect to a doctor or doctors that specialize and have shown just tremendous success in that area with your type of cancer. And then make your choice, and then don't stop. This is something I have found prevalent in people, and it's rooted in this behavior, and it's so easy to fall into these traps. The first one is, I'm winning and I feel better. Oh wow, I'm going to take a break because I haven't felt this good in a while. I want to enjoy it. That's a trap. I had a dear friend of mine fall into that, and it was so it was disheartening, and she wouldn't listen. She had triple negative breast cancer. It was very, very aggressive, and others that she knew that had it through her oncologist, none of them made it and were winning. And she says, I want to go home and enjoy Christmas. She had a little girl. She was age 8 at the time. She goes, I want to have Christmas with my baby. And I says, bring her out. And she chose to go home. She was gone for 2 months. By the time she came back, she had COVID. She had to wait another 2 weeks. When she got back, she was not the same person health-wise. And we never could get it back. The gains were wiped out, and we couldn't get a foothold again like we did the first time. So, and this story is not unique. And unfortunately, I wish that it was, but it's not unique. People, they want to feel good. And these therapies don't make us feel good. Even the natural ones, when you get into these huge doses, it wipes us out. We don't, our stomachs are upset, and we have nausea, things like that. What we want to do is use medications to help us overcome those negative side effects or direct effects and not stop. And when we feel good, here's the key, Anthony. We've killed off a lot of the weaker cancer cells, the easier ones. The tougher ones remain, right? And those are the ones we do not want replicating. So we have to stay in the fight when we feel good. I think every one of us have done this at some time, which is we have the flu or something and we're taking the medication, we start feeling better, and hey, I don't need the medication anymore, and you have a relapse. It's because it's not actually done yet. So I caution any of your listeners, when you're in this fight, and its only purpose is to eliminate the host. It is a fight. Don't stop. Win it, right? Win it. Get your title because you've earned it. Get your title of survivor. Wear it. And in the process, don't stop. Does that make sense?
I love it, man. You have to leverage your current health to get more, right? You have to be able to take advantage of the options that you do have. It's kind of, it's like an investment, right? Like you start to do what you can and you get more of it in a sense, right? So it's really important to have that awareness too.
I didn't catch that last part. Say again.
It's really important to have that awareness in that process so you can actually take action.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you can take advantage of it, right?
Right.
I don't want anybody falling into traps that are hard to overcome once they're gone. And it's disheartening to see a person that's winning, right? We are winning. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to take a break. And you go, no, don't do that. But they've never been in this situation before. I feel good. I'll feel good tomorrow, and next week I'll be back. And when they get back, it's not always winnable anymore. There's a resurgence of the cancer cells that were stronger and harder to kill off. So I caution them. There's a few other mistakes that people can fall into, and I want them to be aware of this. One is, I don't feel good, so I'm changing the dosage of the medication. It happens all the time. I really, really caution anyone who's in there, don't change the dosage of your medication. Speak with your medical team about the effects and what you can do to overcome those or ease those effects without changing the dosage. The only time we want to make a change from that, because these protocols are very, very tailored to a person's needs. And if they come off of any of those, it can change the effects, usually negatively. So we want to stay with the prescribed dosage. Even if we don't feel good, know that I get it, but we're working toward an end goal. We should expect good things, that we are going to win, and not change that, but to speak with the team to make sure that they do everything they can. If you don't share it with your team, they don't know, right? They don't know. So always share those effects with your team, to make sure that they help you overcome those negative effects that you may be experiencing, so you don't change the dosage. Sound good?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, you got to stay in the fight in a sense. It's kind of hard to do that because you're seeing all these results. It's kind of like, oh, you don't want to have those go to waste in a sense. You want to keep on going and be consistent until the end. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's the only time we pivot, make a change in a person's care from week to week, is through scans, results, blood tests, things like that. That'll dictate if we make a change. Until those results come in, or they do another a test for us, we stay the course. Don't change anything and don't take time off.
Yeah, very important. It's kind of like the same thing for personal development too. It's like I kind of do that parallel. It's like you want to be consistent with your actions in order to get certain goals, certain results in your life, right? You want to kind of build that momentum and reach your goals.
Amen. And they happen on a daily basis. Consistency is definitely just like weight training, like you're saying. Whenever we're looking to get better at something, then yeah, absolutely. It's going to take daily, consistent actions, and we don't want to change those unless the test results say that we need to.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm sure it's going to be like a personalized path for everyone. We all have like certain things you have to overcome and certain things that are going to help us in that process, right? And being aware within that is going to allow us to navigate and be skillful in the decisions.
Amen. Yeah, it starts with knowledge, understanding the options, and as we laid it out, it's not a difficult thing to understand. It's just that we didn't know it. We don't know what we don't know. And when our conventional oncologist says, well, the chemo didn't work, or the radiation didn't work, or the surgery did not stop it, then there's just no other option except for, well, maybe clinical trials or something like that. But a person that has a will to fight usually looks at, well, isn't there anything natural that I could do to help myself? And God bless our doctors. I love them. We appreciate them. They dedicate their lives to learning these things. So I'm certainly not downing them for not knowing these things. It's actually not their fault. We wonder, why didn't my oncologist tell me about this? Well, there's some reasons behind that, right? One is insurance. If it doesn't cover that therapy, they step outside of their coverage. They step outside of their license, and they put everything they've worked years and years on the line. That's a lot to ask. So they may steer clear of those conversations. They may steer clear of learning about it entirely. In fact, I've found that most conventional oncologists have little to no homeopathic studies at all. They don't study predominantly on nutrition or what can be done. Here's one for you, and anyone that's in your listeners that may be in active oncology right now may resonate with this one. When my mom went to her chemo infusions, right on the receptionist area, there was like sugary snacks, donuts, muffins, and things like that, right? And when you ask, why is that there? I mean, this stuff feeds the cancer. Well, they need their energy. Yes, they do. But at the same time, you're feeding the cancer, right? You're literally feeding the thing you're trying to kill. So nutrition is vitally important, to have a great diet and exercise while they're going through, if they're going to go through an integrative, or if they're going through immunotherapy, or if they're going through a full dose chemo, the nutrition they take in is just vitally
Yeah, it's crazy how hospitals do that. It's like it's filled with ultra processed food and all that. And
important. It's sad. There is some irony in there, but it's up to us to be our own advocate. And that's
yeah,
what this show, and I thank you so much for doing this and making people more aware. We have to be our own advocates in this one. The system does not help us predominantly in this way. And that's why so many of these websites and studies and everything exist, so people can get the word out, right? Because it's not normally shared right inside of our hospitals. You know?
yeah, for sure. How can we not overwhelm ourselves within this process, right? Because it could potentially be a lot to kind of handle and kind of learn as well, right? Is there anything we could do, kind of make the process more simple and stay inspired in the path?
Great question. That's a fantastic question. And the answer is yes. First, know what kind of cancer you have. Know what statistically science has proven to work on on your cancer, and that's where those three paths come into play. A person who has a blood cancer should not spend any of their bandwidth trying to figure out low dose chemo, right? It's not going to work. And I come across these people, I talk to them, and they're like, I heard about IPT. And I was like, it's a great therapy. Can I ask what type of cancer? I have a Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'm like, okay, that therapy, as great as it is not statistically shown to work. So, and it wasn't meant to cut the legs out from underneath them. It was to steer them in a way. Don't waste time on things that don't work. That's one way to keep the overwhelm from happening. Stay focused on what does work. So knowing those three pathways and being able to match them. If you're going to do something naturally for a blood cancer, then there's two ways of doing it: conventional and support it, or immunotherapy and support it. If it's a solid tumor type of cancer, then yeah, low dose fractionated chemo is a great way to go, and then support it. And just know that when we get into stage 4, we're going to most likely need IVs. It's gotten so out of hand. It's metastasized to different places. It's difficult to eat our way out of that. So understanding some basic principles of, hey, if I'm stage 0, 1 or 2, I've known people to have a debulking surgery, and then they ate their way out of it, right? They didn't need this super hospital experience because the cancer was still localized and still not advanced. But when we get into late stage 3, stage 4, when this is metastasized, it becomes a lot harder, and a person should be looking for IV type therapy. So if they will keep these things in mind, that we want to catch the cancer sooner. If we don't, we're going to need most likely need professional help to overcome that. Now, that is not, I'm not trying to cut the legs out of those people from underneath that can not afford that. Because unfortunately, those integrative clinics, insurances won't cover those therapies predominantly. We can go out to our insurance companies and try to recoup, and in many cases we can recoup some of that. But unfortunately, the cost of those treatments fall upon the patient to do that. So in that instance, to keep a person from overwhelm, look for alternative natural support to help you thrive through your conventional program. Look for those natural treatments that you can take orally. Eat extremely high nutritional foods, right? You're gonna, and stay hydrated. And here's another tidbit I learned from a doctor, which was really cool. A person who's going through chemo, and they don't have integrative option for them. They're going to go through full dose. Go for a walk, about 15-minute walk before your chemo infusion. This One thing helps drive the chemo into the cancer cells much further than a person who did not do that. Interesting.
Yeah.
If you're in full dose, go for a walk around the parking lot, right? Come in, sit down. You want to be hydrated and all. But yes, this is a great technique that a doctor taught me for anyone who's going through full dose chemo.
It makes sense because like moving and walking kind of like gets everything mobilized, right? Kind of helps balance your system too and relax and just kind of like, do whatever is needed.
Amen to that. Movement
Yeah.
is key. And this one's tough to swallow, but this is true because when you're in full dose chemo, you don't feel good. They don't have, it'll rob their energy from them. I call it the front door challenge. If you're having a hard time moving, I challenge you, get up and just walk to the front door. If that wipes you out, come back and sit down. But, and keep doing it. Stay consistent. Do it every day. If you stop moving, it gets worse. It gets harder. The average cancer patient should be walking about 20 minutes a day. So walk, and it does not mean it's easy, but they have a tendency to do a lot better if they're walking, if they're moving. They actually have a tendency, and they've shown that it is one of the best ways to negate the negative effects of a full dose chemo program is by walking 20 minutes a day. So keeping these things in mind that we can help ourselves, it can reduce the overwhelm. It can reduce the side effects. And there are alternatives when our oncologists may not have given us any.
Yeah. So when it comes to like the overwhelm, it sounds like a lot of it comes down to accepting things you can't change, but focusing your energy towards your actions, right? Because that's where you're going to get the most leverage in that or anything, honestly.
Agreed. Your hope is in your finding that reason to live is
Yeah.
so vitally important, right? I want this so much more than how I may feel today. Here's another cautionary tale, right? An insider's tip from a patient advocate, and I've built and operated an integrative cancer clinic for 5 years. So today I focus on helping people understand their options and matching them with just amazing doctors. Here's one. Don't go by how you feel, right? If you measure your success by how you feel, you're not going to feel very successful, right? There is an actual process called Herxheimer's reaction, right? This is something that's floated around inside of natural cancer treatment realm for decades. When a person kills off toxins or kills off cancer and they get toxins into their system, it can give you flu-like symptoms. I actually had a doctor get all upset at me many, many years ago. I introduced him to a new biophotonic therapy, and he tried it out on his patients, but I gave him the manual, right? I said, so you're going to want to, this isn't Christmas lights, doctor. You're going to want to read the manual. He didn't do that. And God bless him, one of his patients started having a flu-like symptoms. So they gave her an antibiotic, and it sent her to the hospital. So what happened is that she's killing off more pathogens. With this particular therapy, biophotonic therapy, she's killing off more cancer cells. And now it goes into her lymph system, and it makes her feel cruddy, right? Henceforth, don't go off of how you feel. What she needed to do was just be removed from that therapy for a day or two, hydrate, rest a little bit, and then go after it. So if you're killing off a lot of cancer and you don't feel good, hydrate and rest. You need your sleep. So your body can process this out. Don't necessarily run for an antibiotic, right? Because you're making it worse. So be aware that you're not always going to feel good. And don't base your success on how you feel that day. Base your success on test results. Make your pivots and changes off of test results, not by how you feel. And
Exactly.
statistically speaking, you will have a greater chance of winning that title, cancer survivor. And that's what we're all looking
Absolutely, yeah. Now having strong purpose and why is so key, right? Because like reasons reap results at the end of the day.
for. Yeah, having a why.
Yeah.
Without it, it's hard to find that desire, right? But when you have a hope in your life, and you have these things like I want to be around for these people, I want to be part of their lives. This is a huge driver, and it can make a person well. I got a quick scientific study for you. I don't know if maybe some of your listeners have heard this. It sounds really cruel. I can't remember the name offhand of this scientific experiment, but they put a mouse into a large tube filled with water, no way out, no way to touch the bottom, and so it was forced to tread water. In about 15 minutes, the mouse gave up and drowned. They rescue the mouse, let it rest up, get its energy back, and they put it back in. How long do you think the mouse lasted the second time around? First time was about 15 minutes. The next time, now it has hope that I'm going to survive. How long did it last?
A lot longer.
I think it was around 36 hours.
Wow.
Incredible. Could have been between 24 and 48 hours. I'll have to look the study up again. With hope, it just shows you what the body is capable of doing when there's hope. When we know there's a way and we want to go get it, your body's ability to tap into that is absolutely stunning. And so, yes, it seemed a little cruel to do that to the mouse, but it showed us a lesson that every one of us can learn from. Knowing your options brings hope. Being able to capitalize on them brings hope. Understanding the pitfalls that have tripped others up and stolen their success, knowing those pitfalls and being able to avoid them and recognize them. There's hope there. There
For sure.
is there is so many wonderful things that everybody can do for themselves in being their own advocate. Anthony, this is such a blessed business for me to be in. I love. If I could do my life over again, I probably would have become an integrative doctor myself. I'm sure, but today I help people think through these options, through their situations.
Definitely. Yeah, so we don't want to necessarily be scoreboard watching in a sense, but we want to focus on process, right? To get those results, to kind of focus on the day-to-day decisions and this kind of keep that positivity going.
Amen. Amen. It's every day. It's a choice every day,
Yeah.
and we want to capitalize on the gains that we get every day. And in the guide that I share, that it's there's a lot of wisdom in there for those people who want to grab that free guide on seeing why the doctor makes these decisions. It's not just all right, we have a patient here 7 weeks, and we're going to kill their cancer. Um, there's a lot more that goes on there. There, week by week, there's health goals. And when a person understands that, hey, we are going to put pressure on this tumor, or we are going to put pressure on this blood cancer, but there's other gains that we're looking for this week. When you break it up that way and understand, whether you go to an integrative oncologist or not, the value of seeing this guide and seeing how the doctor laid out their therapy and why can be such a spectacular advantage over someone who has never seen this before. That's why I give it away. I want everyone to be able to take advantage of this and see how the doctors lay this out, what the reasoning behind their decisions were for week to week.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, Rusty, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you so much today for coming on the show, sharing your story with us, and how we can actually be inspired to create change, right? That's what it's all about. It's about possibilities, it's about opening your mind to new things and seeing all the opportunity that is available, right? Because we're stuck in fear. What actions are we going to take? Probably not much, or if any, right? So we have to have that courage in the belief that it's possible. and then take the action from there. And once you start to do that, doors will open up, right? So
Amen.
it's been an honor, man, and I thank you.
Hey, bless you, Anthony. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on and share the story, the lessons, the paths. For those of your listeners who want to connect with me, let's have a conversation. I don't make it hard to find me. Brio Medical is the name of the website, Brio, B-R-I-O. There's a dash there, medical.com. And it's a wonderful resource. If you're on a laptop or something, you'll see the forms right on the side. If you're on a cell phone, it takes the form down into the middle of the page, so you may have to do a little bit of scrolling. But if you fill that out with your contact information, and in the bottom there, put the words care plan. Put the words care plan. I'll have your email in there, and I will send you this 7-week full care plan that you can see everything that was done, treatments, protocol, all the protocols, that dosages, timing, sequencing, how they stacked everything together, and I'll give you that guide as well, so you'll be able to read what was the gains the medical staff was looking for that week, and you can see it week by week. What a tremendous resource it is for you. So if you'll just fill that out, I will send it to you. If you need a one-on-one conversation, I'm here for you. I got my number right there. I make it pretty easy, and we will Zoom you through a process and match you up with a great fit. If you need a doctor, I've got doctors that I easily trust my own life with and my family's life. More than happy to introduce you to them.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Anthony.